I thought I was untouchable. For 14 years, I led the top-performing team at Northrise Apparel, built from the ground up by my own hands. My team had delivered year after year, exceeding targets and setting records. But in a single meeting, everything changed. The new CEO, barely a few months into his role, looked me in the eye and said, "Your position is being eliminated. Your services are no longer needed." No warning, no explanation, just a cold, corporate decision. I packed my things in silence, unsure whether the weight I felt was from the loss of my job or the loss of everything I had worked so hard for. I never imagined that this would be the start of something bigger. As I walked out of the building, I noticed the first message on my phone. It was from the new CEO, Brandon Kerr. The urgency in his message was palpable. What was happening? Why was he reaching out to me now? Little did I know, the story was far from over. The next few days would change everything I thought I knew about loyalty, business, and trust. But would it be enough to bring me back? Or was it just the beginning of an even bigger betrayal? It all happened so fast. One minute, I was sitting in my office, reviewing reports, planning the next big project for my team. The next minute, I was blindsided by a call from Brandon Kerr, the new CEO who had been with us for just 8 weeks. We'd barely had time to get to know each other, and yet here he was, making a decision that would change my life forever. "Clayton, we're restructuring. Effective immediately, your position is being eliminated," he said, his voice steady but devoid of any emotion. "We'll need you to clear out your things. Security will be there shortly to assist." There was no "thank you for your service," or even an acknowledgement of my 14 years of hard work. I had led the Eastern Division for years, built it from the ground up, and now, in a moment, it was all gone. How had we gone from a top-performing team to an afterthought? It didn't make sense. I sat there, stunned, as the weight of the situation hit me. I didn't react right away. I couldn't. For the first time in my career, I felt completely out of control. I had spent years building something that had grown to bring in over $4 million in contracts each year, and now it was all being taken away from me. The office door opened, and in walked Alicia from HR. She couldn't even meet my eyes. Her hands were shaking as she handed me a box. "Clayton, I'm really sorry," she said softly, but it didn't feel real. How could she be sorry when everything I'd worked for was being erased with just a few words? Security arrived soon after, escorting me to my office to gather my belongings. As I packed up my desk, I saw the family photos, the small fishing trophy the Vector Properties team had given me, and a note from Diane at Suncoast, thanking me for going above and beyond for them. I had spent countless hours making sure everything was perfect for our clients. I had formed relationships, not just business deals, but all of that seemed irrelevant now. None of it mattered. I glanced at the photos once more before carefully placing them in the box. For a brief moment, I let myself linger on the thought of all the people I'd met along the way, the faces that had become familiar to me, the clients who had trusted me with their business. I had worked late nights, sacrificed weekends, and made difficult decisions to build those relationships, and yet, none of that seemed to matter to Brandon or anyone else in that office now. The box was full. The weight of the items inside it wasn't much, but the weight in my chest was unbearable. I nodded to Alicia, who quickly avoided eye contact and stepped aside. It was time to go. As I walked out of the building, I realized something I hadn't expected. The tension, the stress, the fear of being fired, none of it felt as heavy as I thought it would. Instead, it felt wrong. I had dedicated so much of myself to Northrise. I had sacrificed so much for this company. And yet, here I was, walking out the door with nothing more than a box and a sense of emptiness. Just as I reached the parking lot, my phone buzzed. The first message was from Brandon. "Clayton, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I need to speak with you. We value everything you've done for the company. I want to make sure we handle this situation the right way. Please call me when you get a chance." The urgency in his message sent a chill down my spine. Why was he reaching out now? After everything? The last thing I had expected was a message from him, let alone one that seemed to imply that this might not be over. But I wasn't ready to deal with this yet. Not now. I stared at the phone in my hand, wondering what was coming next. The uncertainty was overwhelming, but one thing was clear. This wasn't the end. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and keep the conversation going. The next morning, the phone call I had been expecting finally came. It was Brandon, but his tone had shifted dramatically from the cold, corporate delivery of the day before. "Clayton, I need to talk," he began, sounding tense. "There's been a misunderstanding. The board values everything you've done for the company, and we want to ensure we're making the right decisions. I'm authorized to offer you a consulting role to help with the transition. We want to make sure everything runs smoothly while we bring in new leadership." I sat up straighter, my mind racing. Was this some kind of ploy? Or did he really believe I could still be useful to him after he'd fired me? My first instinct was to reject his offer immediately. After all, I had just been dismissed without any warning, and now, less than 24 hours later, he wanted to bring me back in? It seemed manipulative at best. Still, I couldn't ignore the strange pull of curiosity that tugged at me. "I appreciate the offer," I replied slowly, "but I need some time to think about it. I'll get back to you." The conversation ended awkwardly, and I sat there for a moment, processing the shift in Brandon's attitude. What had happened in those few hours to make him change his mind so drastically? One minute, I was being escorted out the door. The next, he wanted me back in some capacity. It didn't add up. I spent the rest of the morning walking around my house, unsure of what to do next. I knew I had options. There were other companies out there that would likely welcome someone with my experience. Summit Ridge Outfitters, for example, had tried to recruit me multiple times. Daniel Thompson, the CEO, had reached out again after my termination, his message full of sympathy but also an offer I couldn't ignore. "Clayton, their loss is my gain. I'd still love to have you on board. We'll offer you a senior VP position with an equity stake and full control over your client relationships." Think about it. It was tempting. The offer from Summit Ridge would allow me to rebuild everything I had lost. But then, I found myself thinking about my team, the people I had led and supported for years. I had made a promise to them. Would it be fair to just walk away and start fresh, leaving them behind? The thought weighed on me. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed again. It was Jerry Campbell, the former CFO of Northrise, who had been pushed out during the merger with Kestrel Group. "Clayton, I've been hearing some things," Jerry said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "You might want to hear this. I know Brandon's been in full panic mode since you left. Suncoast and Vector Properties both sent formal letters saying they won't renew their contracts. They're only staying because of you, Clayton. Without you, they're out." I felt a strange mix of validation and dread wash over me. These clients had been the backbone of our success. I had worked tirelessly to build relationships with them, and now it seemed everything I had worked for was crumbling. But it wasn't just about losing clients. No, this was about a deeper betrayal. How could Brandon and the board have been so blind to the importance of those relationships? How could they have let everything slip away so easily? Jerry continued, "Brandon's telling the board that you've been sabotaging the company. He's painting you as the villain in all of this, making it seem like you're the one pushing clients to leave. That's a dangerous game to play." I felt my blood run cold. He was framing me. Brandon wasn't just firing me. He was trying to destroy my reputation. He was trying to make it look like I had been the one undermining the company. "I haven't told anyone to leave," I muttered, shaking my head in disbelief. "I've answered their calls, been honest with them. I haven't done anything wrong." "Clayton, you need to be careful. Brandon's making a case to the board that you violated your termination agreement. He might even try to claw back your severance." I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just about me losing my job. It was about a full-on campaign to ruin my career and my reputation. How had things escalated so quickly? That night, after the conversation with Jerry, I went to bed with a sense of unease gnawing at me. Something was off, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was just beginning to uncover a much larger, darker story. The next morning, my phone buzzed again. It was Brandon. His voice was different this time, more frantic, more desperate. "Clayton, please, I need to talk. We've got a major issue with several key accounts. I need your help to fix this. The board's been questioning my leadership, and I can't afford to lose these clients. Please, let's work together on this." The desperation in his voice was unmistakable. This wasn't about me anymore. It was about saving his own skin. Brandon was trying to salvage his position, and I was the pawn he needed to do it. The morning after Brandon's desperate phone call, I felt like I was walking in a fog. My phone had barely stopped buzzing with messages and missed calls from former colleagues, clients, and even people I hadn't spoken to in years. It was overwhelming, but I couldn't ignore the facts. Brandon was in trouble, and he was trying to drag me back into the mess he had created. I decided to take a step back. I wasn't going to make any decisions in a rush. This wasn't just about the job. It was about my future, my integrity, and whether I was willing to go back into the toxic environment that had just cast me aside so easily. That afternoon, I called my lawyer friend, Paul Henderson. He had helped me navigate some tricky legal situations in the past, and I needed his advice again. "Clayton, I'm looking at this situation," Paul said, "and honestly, this is paper thin. What Brandon is trying to do is classic intimidation. You've done nothing wrong. As far as I can see, they don't have a leg to stand on with that non-solicitation claim. You're legally free to go wherever you want. Take your clients with you if they choose to follow." His words gave me a moment of clarity. I had spent 14 years at Northrise, but I was not beholden to them anymore. Brandon had burned that bridge, and now it was time for me to decide whether to burn it for good or rebuild it. But as I sat there, staring at my phone, I realized something. Brandon hadn't reached out to apologize. He hadn't taken responsibility for the way he'd treated me or for the way he had mismanaged the company. He hadn't even acknowledged the years of hard work and dedication I had given to Northrise. All he cared about was his own survival. A message popped up from Daniel Thompson at Summit Ridge Outfitters. "Clayton, I know you're probably feeling overwhelmed with everything going on, but remember, we're still here, and we want you on our team. We'll make it worth your while. Senior VP, equity stake, complete control of your client relationships. This is a rare opportunity. Take your time, but don't let the chance slip away." It was tempting. The offer from Summit Ridge was solid, and I knew they valued me. But as I stared at the message, I couldn't shake the thought of leaving behind the team I had built, the clients I had nurtured. What about them? What would they think if I just walked away? As I mulled over Daniel's offer, another message came in. This time, it was from Diane at Suncoast Financial. "Clayton, I wanted to reach out and say, we're with you on this. We've always valued your relationship with us. The board knows that without you, we wouldn't have stuck with Northrise as long as we did. We're not making any rash decisions, but we need to know you're okay. We'd like to talk about how we can move forward without Northrise." Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. Diane was more than just a client. She was a friend, someone I had worked closely with for years. Her message reminded me of the deep personal connections I had forged at Northrise, but it also confirmed something I had suspected. Without me, Northrise was losing its clients, and Brandon was scrambling to keep them. I took a deep breath and called Jerry Campbell again. "Jerry," I said, "I've been thinking a lot. Brandon is desperate. He's trying to turn everything on me, make me the villain. But it's not working. He's lost control, and now I need to figure out what's next." "You're right, Clayton," Jerry replied. "I've been hearing rumors. People are talking, and not just about you. Brandon's leadership is under serious scrutiny. The board's not happy, and the clients are walking. You have leverage. Don't forget that." That was the turning point for me. For so long I had placed my faith in Northrise, in Brandon, in the system we had built together. But now I was standing at a crossroads. It was clear that I had outgrown the company. The decision was mine to make. I could either continue to fight for a place in a company that had just discarded me, or I could walk away, build something new, and let the clients who valued me come with me. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from Brandon. I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over the decline button. It would be so easy to ignore him, to let him stew in his own mess, but I wasn't that type of person. With a sigh, I answered the call. "Clayton, I've been thinking." Brandon's voice was tentative. "I know things have been rough, but we need you. We need your expertise. Can we talk about a path forward?" I felt a surge of frustration but kept my cool. "Brandon, the reality is that you've already made your decision, and so have I. I've been thinking about what's next, and I'm not sure you're a part of that." I hung up the phone, feeling a strange sense of relief. For the first time in days, I felt like I was finally in control again. Brandon had tried to pull me back in, but I knew now that I wasn't the one who needed to fix things. He did, but even with that small victory, I couldn't ignore the fact that everything I had built was hanging by a thread. Clients were leaving, and the once thriving division I had led was unraveling. All the trust, the relationships, the years of hard work, was it all going to crumble because of a few rash decisions? I sat at my desk, staring out the window, lost in thought. The phone buzzed again, snapping me back to reality. It was another message from Diane at Suncoast Financial. She had been one of my first big clients, someone I had worked closely with from the beginning. I couldn't ignore her now. "Clayton, we've made our decision. The board wants to meet with you. We want to discuss how we can continue working together, but it won't be with Northrise. They've been great for us, but we need you to move forward with us. Let's talk soon." My heart raced. This was it. Suncoast, one of our biggest accounts, was ready to leave Northrise, and they wanted me to be the one to lead the way. For a moment, I was torn. I had spent so many years with Northrise, but here was an opportunity to take everything I had learned and build something of my own, something real. I needed time to think, but it wasn't just the business side of things that weighed heavily on me. It was my team, the people I had invested so much in. How could I leave them behind? They had been my family, my partners in this journey. It wasn't just about the money or the clients. It was about the people who had believed in me, who had trusted me to lead them. I called Janice, one of my longest-standing team members, to check in. She had been promoted to account management years ago, and her relationship with the clients was as strong as mine. She picked up on the second ring. "Clayton, what's going on? I heard about the changes. We're all worried, you know," she said, her voice laced with concern. "I'm okay, Janice," I said, trying to reassure her. "I just wanted to hear how you and the team are holding up." "We're hanging in there," she replied, though I could tell she was holding back. "But Clayton, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know who's taking over or what's going to happen with the clients. We're all just waiting for some direction." It was clear. The team was in the same boat I was, confused, uncertain, and afraid of what the future held. But I knew I had to make a decision quickly. The longer I waited, the more clients would slip through my fingers. As I sat in silence, my mind raced through the possibilities. Could I really walk away from everything? Was this a chance to rebuild, to create something better than what I had before? I didn't have all the answers, but I knew that I couldn't go back to Northrise. The betrayal was too deep, and Brandon's manipulative tactics were more than I was willing to tolerate. Then came the text message that would push me over the edge. It was from Keith, my design lead, someone I had mentored and watched grow into an indispensable part of the team. Brandon's calling an emergency meeting today. He's asking for client contact information for your accounts, and no one's giving him any straight answers. What's going on, Clayton? What's the plan? My stomach dropped. Brandon had crossed a line. He was now trying to take what I had built and dismantle it, piece by piece. He was contacting my team, trying to pry information out of them. I couldn't let that happen. I knew what I had to do. I couldn't sit back and let him destroy everything I had worked for. It wasn't just about the clients anymore. It was about standing up for myself and my team. I called Jerry Campbell again. "Jerry, I've made my decision," I said, my voice firm. "I'm not going to sit back and let Brandon tear everything apart. I'm taking the next step. Summit Ridge has made me an offer, and I think it's time I take it."